I have had an incredible reading month. It started off a little bit slow because I needed to take a little bit of time to get my thoughts together and digest everything that I read and say farewell to the journey of the Robert Jordan books. Crazy enough, I picked up another major series, except for this is sci-fi. I picked up book one in the Sun Eater series. Hold on. Reading stats. I haven't even told you guys my reading stats this month. I read 16 books total. I read two sci-fi books, one RPG novel, two LGBTQ novels, one high fantasy novel, and 10 fantasy romance novels. The fantasy romance. I love fantasy romance. I started off with another major series, book one in the Sun Eater series, Empire of Silence. And I really enjoyed it. It was enough for me to continue on reading. The best way I'm able to describe book one of the Sun Eater series is it was really a vibey time. And I enjoyed it. I did end up rating it 4 stars. Um, in hindsight, maybe it was like a 3.75. And maybe I rated it 4 stars because I wanted to really like it. But not a lot happened. It was entertaining enough for me to keep reading. Anyway, Fearless. I read Fearless by Lauren Roberts. And of course, to no one's surprise, this was a 5-star read to me. My only critique though, Justice for Kit, if you haven't read it, that's all I'm gonna say. If you have read it, tell me what you thought in the comments down below. How did you like the ending? The way that they ended Fearless, it ended, so there is no more to add to the story after that. But I want to see more from Lauren Roberts, so I will continue to support her and continue to read what she posts and read what she publishes. So yeah, anyway, after Fearless, because that was a auto buy, Lauren Robertson is an auto buy author and drop everything I read. I went back to Mr. Christopher Rocchio in book two of the Sun Eater series, Howling Dark, I think it is. Yeah, Howling Dark. And I enjoyed this. Hadrian, our main character, grows a lot, but it also helps that there is a time jump in this second book. It made me remember that the people that were recommending this book to begin with kept talking about how crazy Demon in White is. And Demon in White is the third book. So I put it down. I didn't read anymore, but I may or may not pick up Demon in White next month. It's right there on the edge of me wanting to pick that up. So we'll see. But I ended up rating Howling Dark also 4 stars. I enjoyed it. It's not bad. It's just I was waiting for some stuff to happen. The first book, I wasn't really sure how I liked the story being told by our main character in the future, talking about his past. So we know the things that happen and him becoming the Sun Eater, we're going through as he is recollecting these memories. At first, I didn't really enjoy that because I thought, oh, this kind of kills the stakes of what's going to happen. But actually, now that I've read book two, I think it is a helping factor, because if we didn't already know that this story is being told from the perspective of our main character, I don't know if I would have continued to read this. I don't know if this would have been a DNF or not. So we know that he wins in the end. We know that he becomes this Sun Eater. I don't necessarily know what that means yet, but we know he becomes a Sun Eater, this renowned warrior who kills a bunch of people and is a mega threat and all of these things. We know that happens. So I think the fact that he's telling us what happened from his perspective is just another incentive to keep reading. what happened. So now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm talking through it, maybe Demon and White is something that I will pick up. But anyway, Howling Dark, 4 stars. And then I picked up a book that the internet has been absolutely crazy about, which is Dungeon Crawler Carl. And I had like a little bit of preconceived notions about this. Like I had a feeling like it's potentially something that I would enjoy, but at the same time, like I read 10 fantasy romance novels this month, right? So like Dungeon Crawler Carl, like if I already don't consider myself a sci-fi person, like a video game inspired novel, that just didn't sound like it was going to be my thing. But when I tell you it was very much so my thing, a really, really good time. And it reminded me of like Matt Denneman's writing. The crassness sometimes of his writing actually reminded me of Jay Kristoff. And I absolutely love Jay Kristoff's writing. So like that part kept me interested. And also Princess Donut. I mean, Princess Donut. Absolutely love her. My favorite character so far. But anyway, I ended up rating Dungeon Crawler Carl 4 stars. Now this is a legitimate 4 stars. I had other things to read in the month, but if I didn't, I definitely probably would have binged Dungeon Crawler Carl. I decided to go back to a series that I didn't super duper enjoy after Dungeon Crawler Carl, which is the Foxhole Court series. I picked up book 2, which is The Raven King. And I enjoyed book 2 a lot more than I enjoyed book 1. From book 1, I wasn't really expecting what I read. I was looking for an romance, and that's not necessarily what was given. It was kind of like a mystery thriller-y kind of thing going on, which was okay. It was an enjoyable read. It was enough for me to pick up book 2. But knowing that when I went into reading the second book, I had a much better time. Also, one of our villains from the first book, I really, really enjoyed his character in book 2. And I'm not going to really say much more about that because that would be a major spoiler. Maybe some of you have already picked up on this. I kind of did from book 1, but it wasn't necessarily said. But in book 2, it was stated. So I gave that The Raven King 4 stars, legitimate 4 stars. And then I decided to do a reading vlog. And some of you will already know like my ratings on these next few novels. I did a 24-hour reading vlog. In that vlog, I read Peaches and Honey. And if you haven't seen that vlog, I suggest that you do watch that because I go in much more detail about my thoughts about these books because I'm reading them at the time. So Peaches and Honey is a historical fiction and fantasy romance, and I really enjoy that. And because I did the reading vlog, I'm not going to give more than that. It was a 4-star book. In that reading vlog, I also picked up a book that I DNF'd last year that I absolutely hated, which was Guild, book number 1 in the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. And I DNF'd that book at 51%. I picked it up during the 24-hour reading vlog because I was trying to get through as many books as possible. The second half of the book was so good. Like it like deleted the whole first half for me because it's been almost a year since I DNF'd that book. And I ended up rating this book 4 stars and I hated the beginning of that book. So yeah, the next book I read was A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I am a huge fan of the TV show produced by Sundance, A Discovery of Witches. I have watched seasons 1, 2, and 3 several times, and I never picked up the book. If you guys recall, I did a book haul in December, and I actually bought copies of this book to give out to 3 of my friends so we could buddy read this all together. And that time finally came around, and I read A Discovery of Witches. And y'all, I was so disappointed by this book. I think if I didn't watch the TV show first, I definitely would have DNF'd this book. Ironically enough, I still ended up giving this book 4 stars, but the funny thing is maybe this book was like a 2.5 star. If I'm like just the book alone, maybe it was like a 2.5 star. I thought the action was resolved too quickly. I thought there was a lot of unnecessary writing. It's a lot of unnecessary stuff in it, like stuff that really could have been an email and stuff that wasn't incorporated in the show. And then you see why, because there are a few chapters in A Discovery of Witches where she's talking about going to a yoga class, which has nothing to do with the story in general. And we meet this yoga teacher and irrelevant, like stuff like, eh. I am going to continue on in this series because even season 1 of Discovery of Witches is not as interesting, arguably, as season 2 and season 3. So maybe it could be the same for the books. I'm going to read book 2. And if book 2 is as bad as book 1, then I will not be continuing on in this series. But because I love the show so much, I will continue on and we'll see. The last book that I read in the vlog, and I finished up to about 70% of this, was Glint. So book 2 in the Plated Prisoner series. After I enjoyed book 1 so much, I just kept thinking about it while I was reading A Discovery of Witches because I wasn't really enjoying it. And then I picked up Glint. I absolutely loved Glint, like 4.25 stars. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I had a really, really good time with it. And after the reading vlog was over, y'all know if I'm enjoying a series, I am just going to binge through the series. And after Glint, I immediately picked up Gleam, and this was the first 5-star rating for me in the series. And I really, really enjoyed this. In hindsight, because I did end up finishing the series this month, the series could have been over at book 3. Like book 3, 5-star book, great. And then we had our next book, which was Glow. And because Gleam, which is the 3rd book, was a 5-star for me, I'm thinking, okay, how can this get better? So we get into book 4, which is Glow. And I also enjoyed Glow quite a bit. Not as much as Gleam, but I enjoyed Glow quite a bit. And I had a good time with it. And I rated that book 4 stars. So then I read Gold. And a lot of people actually had an issue with Gold because they thought it was a filler book, but I don't agree with that. I actually really enjoyed Gold. And so much so to the point where I was reading and like walking home and like I just kept walking. Like I walked past my apartment and everything because I was so immersed in the story. And I had like 11 minutes or so left according to the Kindle, and I had a great time with Gold. And then we had the last book, Goldfinch, which was finally the finale of the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. And we got introduced to a new villain in Gold that carried over into Goldfinch. And to be honest, I really did not care about the villain. And I thought it was a really bad idea to introduce a new bad guy at the penultimate book. It's like, yeah, don't introduce new characters. Like, we've already had 5 books. Like, don't introduce new characters. Like, we don't care. Like, I certainly did not care about that. So, yeah. This was my second least favorite book. Even though it was the ending, it was my second least favorite book in the series, interestingly enough. But I 100% recommend the Plated Prisoner series. Even that last book, even though it wasn't my favorite, it was still a 4-star read for me. So after spending a little bit of time with Raven Kennedy, I went back to Nora Sakovich in the Foxhole Court series, and I picked up book 3, The King's Man. because of one of the villains from the first book. I fell in love with him in book two. So I wanted more of his story. So I continued reading into book three. And finally, two characters get together. And it was a little bit obvious that they were going to get together from the first book. But yeah, they finally get together. I picked up this book series because I was looking for a MM romance. And this book, if you're looking for that, I don't recommend this series. Not really, because it's not like a focal point. It's just like an addition that's put in there, but it's not the focal point of the story. So if you're looking for that heavily MM romance, then don't pick this up. I don't recommend. And in general, my recommendation for this series is maybe. It's not really a full yes. And it's not a no, but it's a maybe. But definitely not if you're looking for MM romance. Like, this isn't the series. The second to last book that I read this month was The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. And this was one of my most anticipated reads of 2025. Before I read this book, I did hear some criticism about this book having too much action. And after reading the book, I have to agree with that. Our main character, I feel like I don't know who he is. Besides the fact that he's upset, he's angry, and he's on a path for revenge, I don't really know anything about him. Like, who are you? What were your original ambitions? Did you have a love interest before all of this stuff? Like, there's so many gaps. And it wasn't the best read for me. I gave it 3 stars because although there was a lot of action, too much in this case, and I love action, so that's like almost weird for me to even feel this way, but not enough plot. So my overall rating of this book was 3 stars, which really disappointed me because I was really expecting to love this, and I did not. The last read of the month was also anticipated for me, The Throne of Broken Gods by Amber V. Nicole. Because the Book of Azrael, I absolutely love the Book of Azrael, but this Throne of Broken Gods was also a 3-star read for me. I feel like most of the book seriously could have been an email. I enjoyed the ending of it, but there were too many pages to get to the end of it. This was a 800-page book, or almost 800 pages, and it took too long to get to something that was very obvious from book 1. So yeah, it had book 2 syndrome. It wasn't really, this had book 2 syndrome, and The Rage of Dragons had book 1 syndrome. So yeah. Will I continue on in my read of Evan Winter's The Burning? Yes, but not this month. Will I continue on in my reading of the Gods and Monsters series by Amber V. Nicole? Yes, potentially this month, but at the end of the month. To be honest, I hate that I ended off the reading month with 2 of my most anticipated books and they weren't great. I'll have to do some serious thinking about next month's TBR. Usually at the end of these videos, I do tell you what my TBR is going to be, but that is not going to be the case today because I need to do some serious thinking about this. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. And if you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all next time. Ciao.